When you see Faz stood up with his Lions polo shirt on or whatever he's wearing,
it looks right.
It does, doesn't it? You look at him and you go, any player would do anything to try and run through a brick wall for that bloke, right? And so off the back of it, I'm buzzing for the tour now, and the countdown to when they select the squad, and we're all going to start naming who we think, who are bolters, who's got an outside chance, who's nailed on, and these conversations grow the interest more and more as we get closer to those announcements. And I think it's an exciting first step to what is going to be an epic tour.
What do you make of his comments about looking at the lads playing in France? Do you think he actually means that, like he is going to select, an Owen Faz, Courtney Laws, Sinks, or do you think he's just, saying that just to keep the options open?
Not them three, Rob, but he's keeping the door open for Jack Willis.
Blair Kinghorn.
And Blair Kinghorn, I mean, who will go, but specifically Jack Willis, who hasn't played international rugby for England over the years. And look, there's an old romantic in me that, would love to see a Courtney Laws go and do that. You don't go from playing for Brive to then pick him on the British and Irish Lions tour. He's a legend, but he's been there and done that. I think that it keeps the door open for Jack Willis. I think that's effectively it. And Owen Farrell, it'll be interesting to see how he comes back at the end of the season. He's back fit now. So Owen Farrell, it's his son. And what a story that would be. And some people might be annoyed with that. And that might be something where people are like, no, you've got so-and-so's better at who? Oh, tell me someone that's better than Owen Farrell when Owen Farrell is 100% fit and at his best.
In what position, James?
10 or 12, or in the squad.
12, Sione Tuipulotu.
Okay. Bundy
Aki.
Tom Jordan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Ultimate competitor. And you can't, if you're picking the squad today, you ain't picking Owen Farrell. You're not picking Courtney Laws. Faz has played 20 minutes here or there over the last 2 weeks off the bench for Racing. Ironically, Racing have won both the games, by the way. But, he's leaving doors open for everyone. He's not going to be dictated to. And we talked about it on here last week as well, didn't we? Just around the Welsh. And, we've spoken about it in our live shows. Is there going to be any Wales players getting on the tour? Is it going to be you have to have a Wales player as a token gesture? Faz came out in the press conference, didn't he, and just went, nah, I don't feel the need to pick anyone or not pick anyone. He'll pick who he wants, who he thinks is right from a rugby playing perspective and how he wants the makeup of the team to look and how they want to play, but also a personal perspective and a people's perspective of how they're going to fit into a squad. So he's leaving doors open left, right and centre. I think me and you, Jim, we're out the equation, definitely. But what a great story it would be. Imagine Owen Farrell gets called up late because he's proven his fitness. There's a couple of injuries and then he kicks the winner in the third test to win the series. Father, son, win the series. You could see that sort of shit happening, right? You never write your own fairy tales, but ultimately, when your dad's the coach, you got half a chance.
I'll tell you what I can see happening. And I'm not just saying this off the back of a chip and chase and skinning a load of players at the weekend. Maybe I am because it's gone viral. But Henry Pollock, there's always a young lad that goes on tour. I'm trying to think if there's been like a non-cap before. I don't think there has.
I think Will Greenwood was the last one in 97.
Right. So it was a thing then in 97.
Yeah.
And I like that. I like seeing a young British and Irish Lion go. Keith Owes was the one back in 2009, was it?
2009, I think, yeah.
Yeah, 2009. I tell you now, can see Henry Pollock going, regardless of the talent that's littered in the back row. If I was to put my name to a bolter going or an outside bet, and he's probably not even an outside bet, what he did in that Wales game, albeit Wales last game, England were winning comfortably, but how he's come back off the back of it, and there's a real kind of energy and movement behind this young lad on social media as well, and the brand and everything around that. But the way that he's played the last 2 weeks, when he came off the bench last week and he started this week, wow.
Yeah.
And I know it's the Prem, high scoring, but wowzers in everything, both sides of the ball. And if I was a betting man, he's 20 years old. He's just 20. And he's in the back row, the most congested position. If I'm to make a shout, I reckon he goes. Not in place of anyone else. If a Jack Willis goes or both Currys go or a Rory Darge, I hope Faz picks the right players. But as an outside bolter.
Who are you picking then? Are you picking Josh van der Fleer or Henry Pollock if there's one spot available?
Josh van der Fleer.
Okay.
But the romantic in me wants to pick a 20-year-old lad who's carving up.
Yeah.
Because it adds to that story and the narrative, doesn't it? And the fact that hopefully he'll stop playing for England, he'll play for Scotland when he's 25.
Whoa, mate, that's never happening. He'll be on a central
What about
contract.
that when he came on the pod, Goody, and he's like, I used to watch you play for Scotland. And basically he said he was put off by it. It's my fault.
He decided he was English because he watched Jim Hamilton lose the Calcutta Cup about 8 times for Scotland. But
I had a load of messages off the back of that, off social media. Like some kind of joking, some not joking.
Basically blaming you for losing a Scotsman to England. But anyway.
Can you see him going?
I can, yeah. And not from a romantic perspective of being a youngster, just from a talent perspective. Like he breaks tackles, he's quick, he's got absolutely no fear, sticks his head in the spokes, competes at breakdowns, has got X factor ball in hand.
Big moments.
I can definitely see him going. But ultimately, for him to go, you've got to leave someone out. And, whether that's, as you said, one of the Curry boys, you could pick either of them, you could pick Van der Fleer. You've got a Ben Earl, you've got Rory Darge, Jamie Ritchie in the mix, Fagerson, Jack Dempsey, Jack Morgan. There's the strongest probably area of the British and Irish Lions to pick from is the back row.
He's different to any of them, though. That's the one thing in this. I was chatting to my agent about it, and we were talking about young athletes and Junior Kapoku and the fact that he was the man and now Henry's the man. At that under-20s age group coming through.
Yeah.
And he's like us from an agent's perspective and a money and a worth and players that are developing into rock stars, and he's just got it. He's just got a point of difference. You think of every game that he's played, even the Wales game, he comes on, right, okay, great stuff. The camera's up, first thing's a scrum, he's messing around with, come on, he's getting all the lads jeered up. But everyone's talking about him. You know what I mean? There was so much to talk about that game, but everyone, the headline was, the dog's Pollocks.
The dog's Pollocks, I like that.
Whatever it is, whatever people are talking about. But again, this weekend, really, if you were to say, right, what stood out this weekend, you'd be right, Henry Bollocks, right? That's what you'd be saying. That literally, that's what's sticking out. The analogy works. His Pollocks are sticking out.
We'll see if we can get that to stick. It's interesting. Like I completely get that bolter. I've got another bolter, which is
go on. Give me some hint. Let me see.
He's played international rugby a bit, not masses, but a bit. And it's a position I don't think we've got huge strength in.
Give me the position.
Oh, it's in the backs.
Scrum half.
There we go.
And he looks like a young boy.
Yes.
I know where you're going with this. Is he small like a young boy?
He's very small like a young boy, yes.
Does he speak like an Irish young boy?
He does speak like an Irish young boy. And apparently
does he have small legs like a young boy?
He does, yes. He does.
Is he hung? Craig Casey.
Yes. Yeah. Back for Munster. He's always sort of been second choice behind Jameson Gibson-Park, who is nailed on as our starting 9 as it stands. But when you're looking at the other 9s, and Craig Casey was injured for the whole of the Six Nations, I'm pretty sure. He's just come back from Munster. He's a class player. He perhaps, to me, is a bolter that no one's really talking about from the Six Nations.
Oh, I like that.
Ultimately, Faz knows him well as well. And, will understand how he operates and, the brand of rugby that he can play. And he will fit into an Andy Farrell kind of system. And so, my bolter's going to be Craig Casey.
Yeah, I could see that as well.
You probably aren't going to like this, lads, but my bolter... No, he's definitely not a bolter because he's got nearly 100 caps for England.
A consideration.
A consideration. And he looked class in Sale's game against Northampton on Friday night. George Ford. I know you're maybe...
What, for British and Irish Lions?
I just don't think you can rule him out. Like, look at the options at 10. Other than Finn Russell, they're all lads with very little experience. You need a man that's been there and done it.
Set Henry Pollock up as well. They've got that connection already. Andrew, over to you, mate.
Yeah, I can't see it. I'll be honest. He's a good player. He's third choice for England at 10. He had a good 20 minutes against Wales when he came on. 99 caps, experience. He's picking his son before he's picking George Ford. Is big Andy Farrell. I'd say so. Finn Russell's first choice fly half as it stands, and deservedly so. He's gone back from the Six Nations and torn up for Bath. And then you're looking around, you've got Prendergast, you've got Marcus Smith, you've got Finn Smith. Tom Jordan covers a bit of 10 as well. So, while George Ford has had a decent 20 minutes, he's going to be having to tackle Karevi, he's going to be having to tackle Swahili, and the bloke can't tackle. And that's coming from me, who couldn't tackle a sausage roll. I have, and I can, but he can't be in Lions consideration.
And this is
surely.
the hard thing, right? Because, Rob, you're now going back, and so am I to a degree, and looking at the Prem and being like, how good? But the level is so much lower than it was. And I say that without trying to sound negative. Less teams in there, much more high scoring. And we've seen the International and the Champions Cup levelling up from the Prem, where it was so much closer. Like the gap was a lot smaller than it is now. And some of the defence is optional. It's great, like the Gloucester-Bristol game, to watch that 50-odd points and Bristol score a bucket load as well. Some of them are walking through defences. And George Ford, at the level of Premiership, looked world-class because of how the games are unfolding. And I think he's a brilliant player. He's been brilliant for some of the big games that England have won over the years. But I just think the consideration has to be internationally. I know that's almost contradicting what I'm saying about Henry Pollock playing them 2 games, but we're talking about a lad that could go as a bolter. You take George Ford, you're taking him for the training week to bring everyone together and being another coach who can still play, and there could be an argument for that. There could be. You could argue that is why someone like George Ford's going, and then there's a midweek influence in that space. But I just think we can sometimes got the blinkers on. And this is the thing with Finn Russell. He's gone back to Bath and he's absolutely carved up, like Goody said. But you're like, and I agree he's still going to start, but the levels are just completely different between international rugby and what Australia are going to put out there physically. And that is the one Achilles heel that he's got. And you can't be going to a Lions tour when you've got these Fijian, Australian, Tongan, Samoan, Suaili, he's running like absolute molefoles down your channel.
Rugby pod.